It's always a challenge for us because we don't finish council until 6 o'clock on Sunday night. And and I know nobody wants to hear from us at 6 o'clock on a Sunday night. So we try and squeeze this in the lunch break. More often than not, we are slightly delayed. So sincere apologies. I'm going to hand straight over to Seb. You know Seb, you know Rune.
And I'm going to hand straight back to you, Jackie.
Yay! This will be interesting for you all.
Well, first of all, thank you for being here. And let me echo Jackie's apologies. Council meetings are enough of you who have covered this beat for long enough to know they're not always an exact science. Some debates go on for slightly longer than you think. Others get through quicker, but it's been a very constructive council so far. We're sort of 3/4 of the way through it. We do need to be back in that council hall at about 2 p.m. I'm sure you all understand that, and thank you also to my council colleagues for being here. Let me just take you through the last couple of days briefly, not a War and Peace Part 2. We spent most of yesterday going through updates from the Chief Executive. Where's John? He's in the front row. And the head office and all the debriefs on the 2 excellent World Championships we had. Those of you that were with us in Aarhus and the World Relay Championship, or the World Relays in Yokohama, will know exactly what I'm talking about. We also had updates from our competition department on our WOS events for next year, which include Gdynia, Nanjing, and Nairobi. One of the decisions that the council did make yesterday, which I think is a really important, frankly, I think it's a momentous decision, and that was really to approve an out-of-competition drug testing program and financial model for road races. Now, for those of you who I've spoken to individually over the years, you know that this is particularly close to my heart. I'm not saying that we have entirely resolved the challenge of doping in our sport, but I think we have made very, very good progress, in large part because of the work of the AIU and our medical teams within the IAAF around our track and field programs. But I think we all recognise there is a vulnerability in a lot of our road programs. I think it's also fair to say that the risk has been in part profiled because the road circuit has in essence become a victim of its own success. It engages millions of people every year, and it is also an extraordinary and important revenue stream for the athletes themselves. But we did need to address those vulnerabilities that have been identified to protect the future of this growing and vibrant and frankly extraordinary sport. But we can't allow those vulnerabilities or those pathologies to overwhelm us. And I think, as I said to my council the other day, look, you know, one of the accusations in sport is often that we never actually get ahead of the game, that we're always playing catch up, that we're always responding to a problem or a crisis. Well, I think this is a very clear and demonstrable example of why we now believe that we can get out in front of these stories before they become something that overwhelms us and just takes our eye off the ability and the ball to be able to deliver so many other programs that we want. The new funding model is an interesting one because it is a total collaboration across the ecosystem. It's a genuine collaboration between the IAAF, the AIU, the World Marathon Majors, the gold label races, the managers, and of course the athletes. It really has been a collective response. And in simple terms, and the detail is within the press releases the press release that you have, but in simple terms, it is dramatically increasing the pool of athletes on the road that will be tested. And it's also important to remember that the model will be thoroughly reviewed after the first 12 months. And I'm particularly pleased of the work that was done by the AIU in being able to quantify this statistically as well. I think some of us found that quite shocking. when we were taken through those challenges, but I think we're in a much better space. We also heard from Oregon 21 this morning that gave us a detailed review of the World Championships there in 2021. And this is something that we're now going to do 2 years out from a World Championship. Why? Because actually it's just intellectually rigorous. It also allows us to interrogate those issues that need interrogating at the time, and crucially allows us to have more time in order to remedy some of those challenges. And all too often we have got quite close to a championships where actually if we'd looked and focused earlier in some of those on some of those issues, we would have, circumvented a lot of extra work and a lot of very speedy work that needs sometimes to be done at the end of that. But the council were happy with the plans that they were presented with, and the key element in that is that the World Championship Stadium is a purpose-built one, and because it is purpose-built and because that in essence is a relative rarity, I have to say, in the United States, it also comes with its challenges at the same time. And in simple terms, the athletes will be a lot closer to the field, to the fans, and the fans to the athletes, and this will create a really unique atmosphere. Some of there are some operational aspects that we still need to be creative about. These will be a very different type of championships, but that actually in essence is a good thing. We don't want to just become a homogeneous series of events. We have complete confidence in the local organising team. They have expertise, they have experience, and some of that from previous World Championships, which is crucial. We have very, very good, strong relationships and guarantees from local government, and those auxiliary, those public services that are absolutely vital to the operational integration of any championships are all in place. We also will be having an update from Doha on those preparations for the World Championships later on this year. And of course, we heard from the Russian task force under the chairmanship of Rune Andersen, and I'll ask him to take you through the recommendations that were made to the council and which the council approved. Rune, over to you.
Thank you, Seb. So yesterday the task force advised the council that RUSAF has paid all the cleanup costs to the end of March 2019, totaling more than $3.2 million, and has committed to pay any further such costs on a quarterly basis moving forward. Therefore, the cost condition has been met. The task force also advised the council that progress has been made on the second outstanding condition relating to the findings in the LIMS database. WADA has obtained the data and samples from the Moscow lab and will pass over most of the data to the AIU, which is the Athletics Integrity Unit, on 18th of June. Although further data relating to the 2015 samples will not be available till a later date. As soon as the AIU gets the data from WADA, it will review to confirm it has everything it needs, and so the condition has been met. Until it sees the data, it does not know how long that will take. The task force also noted the AIU's investigation into whether RUSAF officials were involved in an attempt to cover up a doping offense by one of their athletes. It does not think reinstatement can be considered while that investigation remains pending. Finally, the task force noted recent allegations that banned coaches and banned doctors continue to work with Russian athletes. If so, that calls into question whether RUSAF is able to enforce doping bans, and whether all RUSAF athletes have embraced the change to a new anti-doping culture proclaimed by RUSAF, both of which are conditions to reinstatement. The AIU will be looking into this. Since RUSAF has still not met the reinstatement conditions, the task force recommended and the council agreed that RUSAF should not be reinstated at this time. The task force shares council's frustration that progress in 2 areas is being undermined by apparent backsliding in 2 other areas. It hopes the outstanding issues can be resolved soon. If and when they are, it will report that back to the council at its meeting in Doha in September, if not before. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rune. We've got one more decision that was made in council that we'll come on to at the very end, but I'm just going to throw the floor open to any questions. Usual, please tell me your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Nancy Gillen from Inside the Games. Vladimir Putin said that he wanted a Russian athletics team at Tokyo 2020 and he gave a deadline for December the 2nd. Bearing in mind what you've just said, is that not going to happen in your eyes? Thank you.
Sorry, did you say Tokyo?
Yes.
Okay, it won't affect the Olympic Games.
Okay, but the deadline for December the 2nd is that?
No, so maybe I can just clarify very quickly. Before the Rio Games, a decision was made by CAS that the international sports federations had primacy over selecting the athletes who compete at an Olympic Games, but the national Olympic committees have primacy over selecting those athletes, and they compete, if they're selected, under their national flag, etc. So if only in Pyeongchang, I believe, did the IOC suspend the Russian NOC. But if the Russian NOC exists and is fully part of the IOC family, then they can select who they like. So there will be athletes in Tokyo from Russia. Yes.
Gabriel Tetrofaiber, Reuters Moscow Bureau. You said that the IAU would look into the report about Russian coaches remaining involved with athletes. Do you have a timeline for any investigations about those findings?
I cannot answer to what the AIU and the speediness of the investigations and involvement by the AIU, so I cannot answer that.
And for good reason, neither can I, because the AIU, of course, is an independent. But I know they take very seriously the issue, and they are currently looking at it.
Any other questions? Nancy, did you want to come back with another one? Yeah. Just wait for the microphone, thanks.
I was just going to say, though, it's still Putin has that December the 2nd deadline, so can that be met or not?
Sorry, September or December?
December the 2nd.
The reason we're looking a bit vague, because really we aren't, is that we're not really sure what Vladimir Putin has said, or whether it even makes any sense for the world champs as opposed to the Olympic Games. I think we're potentially confusing a couple of things. So maybe we can have a chat afterwards and try and clarify, because we haven't seen what he said. Thanks. Yes.
Artem Kuznetsov, TASS News Agency, ZEP. I would like to ask you about, not Olympics, about European Games in Minsk. Is it true that Russian athletes, track and field athletes, will compete there under national flag, or the IAAF will against it? Thank you.
Yes, on the same principle that Jackie espoused just a few moments ago, that it is a National Olympic Committee event, and that comes under their jurisdiction. Again, it's just worth reinforcing the point that what was established a couple of years ago, and certainly in the lead up to Rio, was that the primacy for the eligibility of athletes to compete sits fairly and squarely and unequivocally with the International Federation. under the jurisdiction of games or games under Olympic auspices. The National Olympic Committee is responsible for selection within that eligibility criteria. And if it's the IOC's event, they can frankly do what they choose to do, which they do.
So, and just for one last piece of clarity, so any athlete who currently has been cleared by our Doping Review Board as an ANA athlete and have requested to compete at the Europeans can compete. If they have not put that on the list of events they want to compete in, then no, they can't. Yep, thanks. Okay, so I think that's all for the questions. So, oh no, one last question, sorry, apologies.
Hi, it's Hiroki Tora from Asahi Shimbun of Japan, and I would like to ask Lord Ko about Tokyo 2020. How do you evaluate the organizing committee's preparation so far, and do you have any concerns about the excessive heat during summertime? Thank you very much.
Look, I guess I should probably declare an interest here because amongst other responsibilities, I also am a member of the Coordination Commission for the Tokyo 2020 Games. So we have great confidence in the organising committee. The challenges that have been raised are being looked at, and I'm sure the international federations too, within their own medical teams, will be giving the right type of advice under those circumstances. All good National Olympic committees do that, all good federations do that. But the delivery of those games is going well.
And our IAAF medical and health and medical director is part of the working group on heat. So we're all working together. Okay, so we're going to come for our other last announcement.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, this is...
It's the gift that keeps giving.
It is the gift that keeps...
One of the other decisions that the IAAF, well, approvals that the IAAF gave yesterday, and you will all be aware of the work that's been going on for some months now, around rebranding the organisation. And I'm trying quite hard now not to descend into marketing speak because it's not really my field of expertise. But you know that we've looked at what the sport stands for, we've interrogated the values, we've tried to place our sport in a modern setting and all those demands and challenges, societal demands and challenges that we have as well. And the new name for our sport at a global level will become World Athletics. I don't think that probably blows the tyres off the car, but it does say that we believe that it will be a more creative, more open and positive face for our sport. For those of us who have spent many, many years introducing ourselves as IAAF Council members, IAAF directors to all parts of that ecosystem, it will be a merciful relief not to have to explain each time what the IAAF does. World Athletics is what it sort of says and does on the tin. And it also gives us a really important point that we're able to emphasize, because the use of the word world is important, because our sport is the most participatory sport on the planet. We also hope, and I know from our many, many discussions with our partners, both in the public and the private sector, that it will help engage a new generation of young people in athletics. It comes to life digitally, and I know from the London years that that is now an absolute essential when you're looking at a brand, and certainly the design architecture. Am I doing okay at this moment?
Doing really well.
And it really also brings a focus onto the people that really matter in this process, and I'm looking at Iñaki particularly as chair of our Athletes Commission. It really shines a spotlight on the extraordinary talents and hero status that all our athletes have. The new brand identity will begin its rollout in October after the IAAF World Championships in Doha 2019, and of course following Congress approval of the change of the Federation's legal name. No occasion would be complete without a film.
Thank you. Phil. Okay, we've got a full access to the assets for the media on our website, where it will be in about, hopefully, 15 minutes. So you can access the logo, the design, and also the film. Please share, and we hope you like it. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. Time to work.